This conference will now be recorded.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Bobby.
I just wanted to highlight a couple. One of them is 81,544, which is a pass-through for the Zumbrota Fire Department for $1,000. The other one I wanted to highlight was 81,568 for Lodemeyer's, which was the lawnmower for $11,800, which we approved a couple months ago. Everything else seemed very normal. If there's any questions? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable for $68,246.88.
I just have one quick question. TASC, who is that?
Well, that's an admin fee that runs some of our benefits.
Okay. I just hadn't seen that one or didn't know what that one was. So. Perfect. Do we have a motion in a second?
Mhm.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Bob. Public comment portion. We'll open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concerns. Speakers must state their name and limit the remarks to 5 minutes. Public comment? I will close the public comment portion and we will jump to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be approved by one motion. And I guess we just have a council meeting from May 1st.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's jump down to new business 8A, Three Rivers Transit Update in 2025 MOU. Tracy.
So my name is Tracy. So my name is Tracy Borchatz. I'm one of the co-directors with Three Rivers Community Action and Hiawatha Land Transit. It's Diane Ford, she's the other co-director. We realized in going back through notes, we're about 2 years into our roles as co-directors. We're not sure how long it's been since somebody's presented to the board or to the city council here in Zumbrota about the transit service. So we thought it was a great time to come in and kind of give you a little background of what we've got going on, how we started, and then go into the discussion of the MOU. And this is just a little bit of history on public transit. Hiawatha Land Transit was started in 1998. We started in Lake City with a one dial-a-ride bus, and now we've grown to today where we have, at our peak, we have 20 buses on the road across the 3 counties, Goodyear, Wabasha, and Rice County. You want to go to the next one? Yep. Oh, one more. So the 2 types of services that we offer is a deviated route service, and that is kind of similar to the metro buses where they do one loop or round every hour, and they follow that same round for about 12 hours. Where we differ is that we can deviate up to 0.2 miles off of that route based on request into our dispatch center. And those routes operate in Red Wing, Northfield, and Faribault. And then we have a dial-a-ride or demand response where that's a call-in. We're curb-to-curb service. People book up to 6 days in advance. All those go through our dispatch center as well. But that's what we offer here in Zumbrota. You can also see on there the standards that we need to meet for MnDOT. It's 8 rides per hour for a route service and 3 for a dial-a-ride. And then for here in Zumbrota, we also service Mazeppa. So we do a lot of preschool transportation. As I'm sure you're all aware, the school buses aren't able to handle all that. So we do a lot of kiddo transportation. And then we are also available for anyone else in the community that needs rides to or from appointments or outings or anything. We have a couple that we take, to workout or PT or to a school event if a parent doesn't have a vehicle. So this shows our ridership in 2024 across all of our service areas. We provided 171,211 rides. At our peak in 2018, we were just over 9,000 rides, and then COVID happened, and there's a huge dive in our ridership, and we're slowly working our way back up. And those rides definitely aren't where we would like them, but we're working to build them back up. Our fare structure. So for a demand response ride, or dial a ride, it's $250 per ride or per one-way trip. And then in 2024, we started offering an unlimited student pass and just an unlimited pass for anyone in the demand response or dial a ride area. And it'd be $60 for a student and $70 for anyone else. And that runs the calendar month. So they can buy it at the beginning of the month. That's good for the whole entire month. Unlimited amount of rides, however many times they want to take our bus service, they can use for that amount. Just some technology upgrades that we've been working on. We did a camera update, so we have updated cameras in all of our buses. We're working on a push-to-talk over cellular radio project for all of our buses, and then a software upgrade, which is probably the one that is going to be the most exciting for passengers. We've been trying to get a passenger portal where people could book their rides online and also pay for rides online and track the bus. Our current provider had told us that we could have that service, and for the past 5 years, we've been trying to work out the kinks and just haven't had any luck. We actually signed a contract with another provider earlier this week and look to go live with that system around the beginning of July. And that would, like I said, it would offer for individuals. So if it was a parent or, a loved one trying to book rides for someone else, they could go online, they could do that. Once it was, I believe it's within like 30 minutes of the ride, you can track that bus and see exactly where it's at and anticipate when it's going to show up at your location, as well as being able to offer an online payment feature, which would be very beneficial for those trying to book rides for other individuals.
I think council knows that we have tokens that behind the counter there, that people come in and buy a whole bag of these tokens or a certain number. Yep. So, and does the library have them too?
Yes.
I think so.
Do you sell quite a bit there too, James?
Yeah,
A fair amount.
we saw it.
Actually, it has picked up a lot.
Yeah, it had, there was kind of a dead spot for a while, but then it was.
Good.
So plans for 2025, we have a rider educator that goes out into the public and presents to whether it's a senior living facility or groups or whatever it might be. His name is Hugh. So he's working his way around. What we hear a lot of times is, well, I'm not disabled, I'm not a kiddo, I'm not elderly, I can't use the service. And that's not the case. There's no eligibility requirements that need to be met to utilize our service. You just need to be able to pay the fares. So we are trying to break down those stereotypes that are out there around public transit. Again, along with that, to build our ridership, we know that that's something that just hasn't come back to pre-COVID numbers, and we really want to try to get there and exceed them. And then update, like I said, all of our technology. We've worked really hard over the last 5 years just to bring our technology up to date, and feel like with these last couple of projects that we're finishing up, we'll be there. And then another really exciting piece for people in the Zumbrota areas, we're going to start some community connections later this year, hopefully yet this summer, where we would be able to connect individuals from here in Zumbrota to Red Wing or even over into Rice County. We hear that quite frequently, where people need to get outside of this, outside of the service area for appointments or to, visit somebody or even to do shopping. And so we're looking at, it would either be 2 to 3 days a week that we would have a bus that would come from the Red Wing area over this direction, and then be able to connect with a bus that would be coming from the Rice County area. So not only will it help residents within Zumbrota get to some bigger communities or other communities that we'd service, but it will also allow for other individuals from other communities to come into the Zumbrota area and utilize the, the boutiques and shops downtown and other things that are here in Zumbrota. And then we're very excited to partner with the city again to offer rides to and from the Pine Island Pool. I think if I remember correctly, it was about 131 rides that we provided last year, and we didn't start until July. So we're really hoping to go a lot more than 131 this year with these rides. This will get posted on our social media tomorrow. We wanted to wait until after the city council meeting here tonight to get that posted. So we'll get that out there and get that promoted so everyone's aware of it. And then if people are looking for rides other than those 3 locations that we've identified as kind of central, safe locations for individuals to board our bus, they can call into the dispatch center and work with them to get those locations scheduled. One thing that we didn't put on here, because I wasn't prepared with the slides on it, is our MOU. And I'm going to let Diane speak to this and give myself a little break.
You've all seen the MOU, is that correct?
It was in the packet.
Okay, perfect.
We've done it before.
So the main reason that we are kind of changing things up and going to this MOU is once COVID hit, it really deflated. Everything had kind of been tied to the delivery of the buses. And that kind of brought a big deficiency because everything got delayed. Well, last year, let me back up. Normally, we only typically see maybe 2-3 buses in a year across our service area. This last year, 13. And so it really put 2 were just finishing, so really 11. But so it really kind of pushed the communities. Some communities saw 3, and that just, when you're used to only paying around $90,000 for a bus, and that jumped to about $215,000, that match really stretched our communities. So that's why we're switching over to this MOU versus having everything tied to a particular bus. So that's kind of where we are. Do you guys have any questions on the MOU?
Yeah, so with the new buses, that's going to push down what, 11, I don't know how often you replace them, but usually they'll do a couple at a time, but now it's going to be all of
So
them.
there's, MnDOT has requirements. We can't just say, oh, we want a new bus. We want to put a new bus in this community. So it's based on the number of miles and the years in service, but it also, every bus gets graded, and it's for the whole state, for all of the public transit systems. So even if a bus becomes eligible for replacement, doesn't mean that we're going to get selected if a particular bus grades higher than a different area.
So what the MOU will do will allow us to effectively budget for when there is a need for a bus, and we'll have a share in that. The MOU is set at, I think it was $6,000 now, and they will revisit that in 5 years to see if it generated too much money or not enough, and then reassess then. But really what it does is allow us to be able to budget. Each year we know it's going to be $6,000, rather than all of a sudden, hey, you guys are getting a new bus, we need whatever amount of money it is going to be, or 2 buses or whatever it might be.
The local match on the buses is an 80-20 split. 80% of that's funded by state and federal dollars, depending on the breakout, and then 20% is a local match. And so historically, we would do the local match would go to the community where the bus was being serviced. And that's, like you said, the last bus that was purchased for Zumbrota was purchased in 2018, 2019. And it was about in between $70,000 and $80,000 to replace that bus. The buses that we're looking to purchase that for 2025, which would be that same style bus that you see here in Zumbrota, the budget amount is $215,000, and there's no additional bells and whistles by any means. We're looking exact same bus. So that's a huge difference, and we're just trying to help alleviate that stress for the communities that we serve.
How many cities or towns are paying this $6,000?
All of our demand, so we haven't met with all of the demand response communities. So if, Brian, are you able to scroll back to
Are
the
we
page
talking
that
like
had
the
the
Plainview,
fares?
Northfield,
Yeah,
Red Wing?
not everybody but Northfield, Red Wing, and Faribault. They're paying a greater share. They're paying more than the
Because of
6,000
the bigger
because
city.
they have more
And
buses.
They have more buses.
Yes. So it's based on hours of service for the community. So if you go, a little bit, there's one that has all of our, yeah, right here. So like Cannon Falls, Kenyon, Wanamingo, Lake City, Pine Island, Zumbrota, Wabasha, and Plainview are the communities that we're asking the 6,000 for.
And Kim worked it in the 2026 projection already, so.
And we've already, Lake Cities is getting voted on, when is?
It did already.
Oh, it
They
did,
signed
that's
it
right.
this
Oh,
week.
that's right, we did sign it. Cannon Falls has been signed, so we've slowly been working through all of these communities to get them signed.
And Pine Islands was going to council this month. I just can't remember when their meeting was because we're not presenting at it. We just provided information.
Any questions for Tracy? I know it's a great service for our community to keep it cost effective and stuff like that.
Just one question, like, if I were a rider, so say I need to get to the grocery store and I didn't have a way, I can call that day and they would come?
We can schedule up to 6 days in advance, up to same day, and it's all just on availability. You might not get the exact time that you're looking for, but they get as close to it as possible, depending on what we've all got going on.
It would be like a token, but hoping to go to like an app or a way to pay online.
Yep, token cash or pass, or like I said, we'll have the payment option on the app.
And then they'd be able to use the credit card, which is what most people are, excited about. Debit card, not necessarily credit, but debit.
We're just asking for a motion on the MOU portion of this.
make that motion. I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Tracy. Thank you. Let's do 8B, 2025 street improvements, approving plans and specs, advertising for bids. Mike?
Yeah, so we got the 2025 street improvements for the council approval for advertising for bids. Bids will be received at the city hall until 2 p.m. on June 12th. And we opened on the streets on Willowmere, Dubuque, and part of Sugarloaf Parkway this year. What we're looking at, and there's also some sub-drain figured in for Willowmere.
With that sub-drain, Mike, what exactly is it? Just like drain tile in front of the curb, or?
I'm not sure what they'll use. Usually it's a scheduled SDR 26 pipe that's perforated on the bottom of the socket.
Just to drain the soil a little bit better? Okay.
You'll lose your ice skating rink though.
No, not necessarily from that.
That's to help drain the streets up there, but people will be able to put into that when they. Oh, because when and I'm not sure if all of this is in yet. When we looked at the plans, Willowmere has sub-drain now, just on the south side. That's where I believe most of the services are hooked into. On the north side, I think they're all walkouts, so they just daylight. We have to look at that just a little bit closer, what exactly how much we have to put in. There's parts of it that aren't there.
And then I was gonna ask you, the other part of Sugarloaf, we did some things last year on Sugarloaf. Is this just a different section?
So the section we're working on in Sugarloaf is the cities on both the north and the south side. That's the part that's annexed. I think there's 6 homes out there that are in the city. That stops at the last fire hydrant to the west. Then the last section would be a split with the townships again. The first section was a split with the township too.
Okay.
South side was the township, and the north side was the city.
There will be a lot of happy citizens. I get a lot of calls on that. Both, well, people that drive through there to get to the township portion as well.
I'll make that motion to approve it going out for bids.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Mike. Let's jump down to 8D, Resolution 2025-22, 10 Jefferson Drive, rezone. Miles?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have a rezone application from 10 Jefferson Drive. The applicants are here as well, Adam and Jennifer McKinney. They have a primary residence at this address. They are located currently in Industrial 2. However, they would like to move into residential to be more in line with permitted uses for their parcel. However, upon further conversations, we are wanting to potentially change this to residential 1 instead of residential 2, where they're going into, in which case we may need to pull this and I need to rewrite the resolution to bring it back to council for approval.
Yeah, we're thinking if you want to change what was approved by the planning commission, it should go back to the planning commission with that requested change and then come back to the council.
So at this time, we're kind of just seeking council direction on this. I don't know if we want to move forward with residential 2. The only difference between the two, as we kind of talked about, is the acreage problem, since their lot's a little bit unique because it has 4 to 5 acres and they have a few outbuildings. Now, some of these have been grandfathered in because they were built a long time ago, but the only difference is that residential 1 allows for, I think it's up to 4 or 5 buildings for every 1.25 acres, and residential 2 is for 4 or 5 for every 1 acre. So because of their lot, it could make more sense to put them residential 1. I think either way, either would work just fine, but just kind of seeking council direction on this. I apologize for the mistake of putting it in residential 2 instead of residential 1.
Doesn't do with any function of their lot if it's residential 1 or residential 2.
Not that I'm aware of. I think the only difference was just because of their lot size, that it would be different because they have a few different detached buildings on their property. It's just a unique lot compared to the rest of the city. We don't have any like it in town. It's usually in the country where you see it a little bit more, or in our agricultural districts. But as far as our residential districts, we don't have any lots like this other than theirs.
So a request for, so R1 would be, was that the applicant request?
Yes, it was an applicant request.
Rather than the R2 as it was approved? So if the applicant wishes to do that, then I would recommend that council send it back to the planning commission to have them approve it as the R1. So we're following all the applicable laws, and because this has to be recorded and everything. So we want to make sure it's what you want. And I think you're right, Miles, and really doesn't, for the city, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference to us, but it could provide flexibility, in the future, I guess.
Yeah, that's correct. And in our perspective, I think, is that because it's such an old lot with an old property, that all these buildings have been grandfathered into these laws. So we're not going to go and make them tear down anything. It's just kind of a unique situation. And since we don't have anything else like this, this is kind of a one of one, I think, here in the city. So I think it's really just up to the preference of the applicant and the council here.
Right, it would be noted as existing non-conforming.
So I assume you're Adam, correct?
Correct.
What do you want it zoned at? Residential 1 or residential 2?
I don't have a problem with 1 or 2 because my original preference was 1 because I knew that it could be taxed as low as 1.25, that the buildings would be okay. We don't have any ambition to putting on a whole lot more buildings. So whether it's 1 acre or 1.25 acres, I don't think will affect us very much. If we were to stay residential 2 and to keep going forward, to my limited understanding, it is a lower tax bracket. That was my initial push come in here was to get out of the higher tax bracket. At this time, I'm okay. Are you okay with staying residential too?
Whatever you want to do.
What would you do in this case? What would be your advice? Would you try to go back?
Pay less taxes. I mean, to be real, let's be real honest. I mean, if I'm gonna save a couple dollars, I've done dumber stuff with a couple dollars, but if it's significant.
Yeah.
I mean,
Does residential 1 change from residential 2 as far as tax amount?
I don't believe an R2 is lower tax rate. Industrial definitely is.
Yeah.
Industrial is definitely a different tax rate because it's all about your taxable capacity and what's the max that they can tax you on. And in residential properties, the most we can tax you, what we can figure on is the first 1% of your value of your home up to $500,000. And everything over that is you can figure at 1.5, I believe it is. But industrial starts right out, like flat out of the bat at 1.5. And it has it is a higher rate for them.
If the numbers don't change, whether it be residential 1 or residential 2, to keep moving forward, I am okay with residential 2.
and I'm just trying to, if you needed something done right away to do whatever you have planned or whatever, or is this just a tax thing? And if you have to do it to switch it to the other one and you have time, I'm okay with that too. It's just whatever you would prefer to do.
Yeah, it was purely to get into a lower tax bracket that would be more realistic of our residential homes.
Yeah.
We're not running an industrial business. So.
But if you want to keep on paying that tax bracket, we're okay with that too. I'm just saying, so I don't care which way,
Residential 2, you can have 4 to 5, or is it outbuildings?
I think R1 and R2 is the same way, but I think once you get to R2, it's up to an acre. It's just a little bit of wording. So I don't think it's gonna.
And Planning Commission changed this, I believe, last year, I think even, to say that you can only have a certain amount of outbuildings on your property whatsoever. Again, in this case, it's kind of unique. They've already been there for almost 100 years. And so they're kind of grandfathered into these laws. I don't know how that changes, to be honest with you. And I don't really know what the legal perspective is here. But I think we'd be okay with it. I don't know if Brian has any input or issues with it at all.
I was trying to remember, because do we delineate between R1 and R2 as far as the outbuilding requirements when we changed it to take into account area of the lots? I don't think we did either. I don't think there's any difference between R1 and R2 as far as how many outbuildings you can have. How many do you have now?
We currently have 5.
Gosh, I didn't know. I'm trying to remember 5 out there. I spent a lot of time out there. So. But, yeah, so in either case, it would be existing non-conforming. I believe that's my opinion for the outbuildings.
Legally, as far as when we've had other situations like this, they haven't had much of a perspective other than that it's there. We're not going to go out and make them tear down anything. So I don't think we'd have any issues, especially since it's been there for so long as it is now.
And the reason we changed that a year ago was for another property that was a bigger property. That's why we changed that numbers on the outbuildings.
Right, that's what started the conversation.
Yeah.
And then we thought, well, it kind of makes sense. If you've got a huge property, you can accommodate more outbuildings without looking cluttered, as cluttered. So either way, R1 or R2, I don't think that's going to change the fact that you've got, it'll be existing non-conforming.
At that time, we didn't have any residential zones that were 5 acres, right?
Right, yeah.
So now we will.
Well, and this one's all enclosed with trees too, so nobody knows what's back there.
And all around them is industrial too anyway. They're the only, because they're right on Jefferson Drive where the township starts. And so they're the only residential property pretty much for at least almost probably a block or two until we get back into the city. So there's really no neighbors that we have concerns about. We didn't have any issues with any of the businesses nearby. They didn't have any problems with this rezone application when I sent out public notices. So as far as we're concerned, there's no issues here.
I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been changed earlier than used as a residential for the tax purposes. I mean, because obviously I don't know the differences, but it's probably got to be significant for you to spend the time in the issue. So, I mean,
We were astonished.
but if you want to keep on paying them. So I don't care if we need, I mean, do we need to send it back to planning and zoning, or can we just approve it and then they can get moving on with?
The applicant and council as well. I think city-wise, we're fine either way, but it's just kind of up to you guys to see what you guys want to do.
From the sounds of it, they'll be capped at the existing building amount because it's already non-conforming, but they'll be in that lower tax, just being the R2, so it'll be the same as R1. Might as well press forward with what we have before us, and they get the benefit right away.
Because the only difference that I heard is it's either 1 acre or 1.25 acres. That's the difference, buildings per 1 acre to 1.25. We have 4.2 acres, we have 5 buildings. So I'm okay with R2, that's literally the only difference is a 1/4 acre per number of buildings.
I mean, but like you said, it's been there, it's grandfathered in, so I mean.
Yeah.
I don't care which way you want to go. I mean, we can approve it tonight and we can move on, or if we can go.
Let's approve and move on if that's.
I'm okay with that, council.
I'll
You okay with that, Miles?
I am absolutely okay with that.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve that, that change.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Roll call.
I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
roll call.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan? Kevin?
Aye.
Fred? And I passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Miles. Thanks, guys. Let's go to 8P Resolution 2025-23-868 Gulfview Avenue. Miles?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Last 2 council meetings ago, I believe, is when I brought this to you, because I was gone for the May 1st meeting. But this is a variance at 868 Gulfview Avenue, saying that it's a new home construction from Seth Freeze Construction. The plans that they have call for a covered screened-in porch, and it encroaches 5 feet into the setback, the rear yard setback. It'll be at 25 feet. However, this was previously amended by Planning Commission from 35 feet to 30 feet. So they'd be going 5 feet more into the setback. And previously, council directed us to bring this back to Planning Commission. One reason because Councilman Rash was not here in attendance, and so it was eyeing to be a split vote, and City Attorney Flaherty decided that was not a good option for us. And also just because we weren't exactly sure how the vote was going to go, so we didn't want to lay on it. So we brought it back for Planning Commission, and they voted to deny this on the same vote, 5-1 again. The grounds that they had for fact findings was that the applicant's practical difficulties are made by the landowner themselves, as in the construction hasn't happened yet, the home hasn't been built, and so plans can still change, and that they are deliberately creating this plight by making plans that encroach into a setback that has already been previously amended. In addition, it was just because of the uniqueness of the property lot. That was maybe the question that we had last time. Councilman Amundsen brought it up that there might be a slope on this lot that could make the lot a unique shape. However, Planning Commission decided that the lot wasn't unique enough compared to its neighbors to constitute the variance in question. And to continue on, if we are to grant a variance, it has to meet our 3-factor test, which is 1, it has to be reasonable, which this property was decided that it's going to be used in a reasonable manner as a primary residence, and that the deck would encroach into the setback. It's a reasonable request. Number 2, that the property has to have a unique situation that calls for the variance. Planning Commission decided that they did not have a unique situation because, as I said, the landowner had created the situation himself. When you think back to when we were granted the request for Arlen Olson, his property was unique because it was an old property, had been grandfathered in. And so building the garage made a lot more sense because the lot itself was a very unique shape and the residence itself had been there before these laws existed. And our 3rd final test for the variance is that it will not alter the essential character. And Planning Commission decided that it would because that it would be different than all the neighbors and that they would be going into a setback that was already amended for all of their neighbors on the golf course. So tonight, we're seeking council decision on this resolution. I brought a resolution for denial, but it is ultimately up to your discretion and your direction tonight.
Council, I know we discussed it last. I know Fred wasn't here on that one, but it was kind of both sides of the fence. And I'm kind of that same way now, but then again, we already amended the change here, was it a couple years ago?
Yeah, end of 2023.
Yeah, so.
I think my big hang up last time was just that we didn't have the fact finding right in front of us. And so I had a bunch of questions that just weren't, I couldn't substantiate my denial of it without the evidence. So I thank you for taking it back, getting this deep level of detail for us. And I would definitely go with the denial now.
Deny this change, variance.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred? And I passes 5-0 for denial. Thanks, Miles. Work session, or set a work session coming up. Let's grab our handy dandy calendars.
Thank you.
You were thinking June?
Well, whatever you want. We just have a number of items that we need to discuss.
So what is,
We actually have 3 weeks before our council meeting. Right now, between the 15th and the 5th, there's the 22nd and the 29th. Those are Thursdays.
29th won't work for me. 22nd will for me. Oh, we probably need you here.
You talking June?
We're talking May, the 22nd, 29th too, but yeah.
I was just thinking if we could, if you wanted to, you could squeeze one in between council meetings because we've got a long layoff there.
I mean, could we do, I can't do the 27th either.
Kim, are you gone? When are you gone in that time frame? Just the 22nd?
I'm gone next Thursday. I have evening plans.
And then week of the 26th is Memorial Week.
Planning and zoning is the second Monday, right? Second Tuesday. I mean, how about June 9th or June 12th? Does that work for none of those?
Perfect. No, I'm kidding.
Just teasing. Fred, you around? I mean, what does that 9th, 12th look for? I mean,
I probably will be able to be here, but I've got a set of twin granddaughters being born that day.
how about the
That's
16th?
C-section day.
How about June 16th? Well, council got moved to the 18th.
I got a fire meeting that night.
17th is code committee. 18th is EDA. Juneteenth, I can't have a meeting that day. Oh, no, 18th is the council
Yeah,
meeting.
that Wednesday. I mean, I hate to do it. I mean, it sounds like most people 9th and 12th would work except for Kevin. I mean, I like to do it. I mean,
12th would be better for me. 9th is training. But
is there any way you can do on the 12th?
I can do 12 if we do it early. I have something at 7. It's in Rochester.
4:30 to 6, would that work on the 12th?
I think that works.
Bobby?
yeah, I think so.
Fred?
But operate this.
You, the retired guy is the busiest guy here. I've heard that happens.
I hear that all the
I
time.
think when you originally asked me, it was fine, the 9th or the 12th, you said.
The 9th and 12th would work. 4:30 to 6, okay? That give you enough time? I mean, like I said, when we do work sessions, I like to,
at 6 o'clock it's done. So let's do the 12th, 4:30 to 6. That work for you?
Well, I don't know what time they do C-sections, so we'll figure that out. But no, that's okay. I'm assuming it'll be early in the day. I'll ask Katie tonight. She's at my house tonight, so I'll see if.
Oh, is that the actual day she's doing the C-section?
That's the C-section that day. If
She makes it
If
that
she
far.
makes it that far.
Yeah.
The 12th, I mean, I don't know. I've never had grandkids. So I don't know what my commitment's going to be that day.
Let's tentatively do it that day. And maybe on the council on June 5th, he'll be at grandpa already, so it won't be an issue, so.
Hope not. We want to bake them as long as possible.
Okay, so
Lung capacity.
tentatively right now, we'll do the 12th from 4:30 to 6 for work session. Need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed at 5-0-0. Reports. Brian, this is gonna be a long one.
Yeah, I know, it's been gone a little while. I understand there was questions on the new apartment building at the last council meeting. I just wanted to clarify, like Miles had said, we're still waiting for the developer to review the TIF, the TIF developers agreement and provide plans. We don't have plans yet. We don't have civil plans. Got some preliminary stuff that we're not much. So we're going to have to wait until we get more information before we've got anything more for you. It's kind of just sitting there right now. And I talked to Andy about 3 weeks ago and he said he was going to get going on that, but he's swamped with Wabasha going on and a couple other things he had going on. So it's kind of in his court right now. So we're waiting on him. If he's not in a huge hurry, we don't need to be in a huge hurry either. We'll wait when we get the information, then the civil plan, and then the staff will do a review, and so will the city engineer. And then we go back with comments and we start developing the developers agreement, local developers agreement at that time. And then you'll start seeing more things. I heard possibly people are still thinking that we put some money into this. The city is putting nothing into this so far other than the sack and whack fees. I think that's it. Keller Bartman provided a full escrow check for all the upfront costs. So we've got some staff time into it. That's it. No money. This isn't like the last one where we put quite a bit into that one. So yeah, we're just kind of where we're at. We'll update when we get more to update, but we really don't have anything yet. I just wanted to be clear on that. So there's not anything getting out and about or if anybody's saying anything around town, that's where we're at. Pool update, the design continues. We're waiting on the latest soil boring reports, and then they'll finish putting the plans together. And I believe it's gonna be into July now, middle of July, at least before we have full plans. And bidding will be after that. They are still standing by the opening in June 26th, of 2026, if we can get it going. We're going to have council make some decisions here soon, the park board and the council, on fundraising. I think we're about, a couple other things have trickled in, but I think we're at about $560,000 of dollars fundraised, which leaves, $1.1 million to still raise, not including the potential in-kind donations once we do the bidding. So we're going to, real soon here, we'll be bringing something back to the council as far as if we want to proceed this year, if we want to hold it off a year. If we do that, it's another $140-some thousand of interest, or not interest, but inflation. We'll have a number of different options for council to consider and park board. I kind of want to get it going, and then we'll deal with what we need to after that. There's several talks going on with larger employers in town and outside of town. So we're hoping that is fruitful and we get some little bigger donations coming in. But there are still, the committee's still doing a lot of work on that. I think we're going to have a committee meeting set up here pretty soon again. So that's where we're at. At some point, we'll go back out and say, okay, if every citizen would contribute this much, we could get there. Or if half the citizens would contribute this much, we'd have a fully funded pool. But we're kind of waiting on those numbers till we find out from some of these bigger employers if we're going to see any larger contributions. That's it on the pool. And then you see the new windows behind you. Ruben Scheffler did a nice job on those. They look like doors, but they're windows, trust me. New trim, yeah, I think it's beautiful. But in watching the sun and right in Mike and Kim's eyes over there, reminds me I have to call the blind company and get them going on the blinds. So we'll get some new blinds in here too. Otherwise it gets tough to have meetings during the day with can't see the screens.
All those have to get stained too as well and finished?
I think that is the finish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit lighter. It's pretty close. But I don't know, I was gone when Ruben did it. Did you guys talk to Ruben at all? I think it was all done when I got back. And so was the roof. Got a new roof up there too. Asphalt looks pretty good. The colors look good. I tried to solicit help for picking out the color. Nobody would give me any help. So this is what we ended up with. So hopefully happy.
Is there a lot of changes on the pool, or why is that taking so long to get a final?
The soil borings have taken a while to get back. And then they had to go back and do I think it was 6 more, because they were uncomfortable with part of they didn't quite know in part of the pool. And it was going to be, in all likelihood, less money to do the borings and know ahead of time rather than pivot during construction if they run into some bad soils. So that was part of it. Other than that, yeah, it's taken a while. And they have to fit permitting in there too. If the permitting once they have the plans together, then they have to go out for permit. And if that's going to take too long, we can ask to keep it moving for bidding while the state is doing the permit review. But they used to be a long time. It used to take forever, but I think they've been better now lately, is what Burbach was saying. And then the roof over at the police side, we have a design. They're running that design past our roofing contractor, Schwickerts, who have been looking at our roofs for years, just to see if they've got any comments or concerns about the fix and, leveling it back out, if that's going to do anything to the roofing, or roofing. And then we'll get along for bids here real soon and get it fixed. The design involves a steel I-beam. So we'll get bids and we'll see where we're at with that. If they're confident it'll be less than the $175,000 threshold for full bids. I guess they're going to get quotes. If it's under 175,000, they can get quotes. So we'll do that.
Insurance covered that?
Insurance is involved. Yep, we'll have a deductible there. But they keep checking in with me every week to see where we're at with it. So they're interested in getting it fixed up as well. And the police are anxious to get rid of their nice temporary wall. And like I said, Chief is up for the police. I'm going to lose my train of thought here. What's it called? The Police Recognition Week. He's up with Gary's wife up in the cities. So yeah, I think that. We sold the squad.
Did we?
Yep, sold it yesterday. Full ask. $19,000. Someone in town here. So that money will go back into the account for the next one. 19,000.
Wow.
Yep.
Around yesterday evening.
Yeah, we put it out in the shop because we realized we didn't have a Minnesota title. We had a Michigan title for it. So Pat had to go down and get a title ordered, and that's being expedited, but we don't quite have it yet. So we can't officially make the deal until that gets here. So safe and sound out in storage. Okay, that it?
Anything else?
Need anything else? I don't know. Oh, the Clerks Institute, thank you for sending me to that. Kim had been telling me for a few years that I should be a certified clerk because I'm the clerk. And I put it off and put it off, and boy, it's intensive, but it's interesting, very interesting. Even though I've been doing it for a little while, I learned a lot of things. I told Kim, look out. I've got a whole bunch of ideas now. So that was year one. Year two will be next year, and then a third year after that, and then I'll be able to be certified clerk. But yeah, it was 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 or 5:45 at night, and you sit in a room like this, big room, like for all of that time. There's a proctor outside the door. If you run out to the bathroom, you better not be answering the phone, or go and get back in there. So it's a serious deal, but it was interesting. I appreciate being able to go, so I appreciate you sending me.
Anything?
Better go quick before I think of something else.
Perfect. James?
Nothing.
Thank you. Miles?
Council, the only thing I have is the RV ordinance. We have a second draft done, and we're bringing it to Code Committee next week, May 20th. And we'll be seeing some thoughts from the committee, and we'll kind of go from there. But it's just more of a workshop on a second draft, and we'll kind of see where we go. Hopefully, pending any changes, we might have it for council in June at some point, but we'll kind of see. That's all.
I'm sick. Thanks, Miles. Kim? Mike?
Just let you know that the campground, the new campground, the 10 sites are done and people are using them now. And then the new bathhouse, the footings are dug. So stuff is moving along out there.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I have nothing. Well, I did make a couple phone calls today to Drazkowski and Steve Jacob concerning wastewater treatment north. I got their messages, or left them messages, got their voicemail, so we'll see if they call back, or just kind of said, hey, make sure it's on the bonding bill for the North Sunbro. And I think our lobbyists wanted all the mayors to call, so hopefully we'll get some money, more money. That's all I got. Bob? Joan? Kevin? Fred? Meeting adjourned. I think, but they're working on the bond.